A warm welcome to everyone. This module is going to discuss about resort management. So to start with, we'll be knowing about what is called as a resort, what are the different types of resort, and what is the difference between a resort and a hotel, and how do we plan and develop any particular resort. So first, we are going to talk about the definition. So what we call as a resort, normally people use the term hotel and resort very commonly, and they keep using the terms interchangeably. But when we look into the definition of a resort, the specific definition given by Department of Tourism in an accredited form is nothing but it can be any place or places with a pleasant atmosphere and a comfortable environment where people can have a relaxing as well as a resting, and it offers food and beverages similar to a hotel. But there are certain differences that exist. So now let's look into the difference between a resort and a hotel. So since I already told you that there is always a confusion between these. So a resort is something which offers you the entertainment and recreation facilities in a vast manner. But a hotel also does the same. But when we compare a resort and a hotel, the one which is offered in a hotel will be slightly lesser than a resort. And the second thing is like more of entertainment aspects like game rooms, lounges, and then the pools and within the theme park it is located. A simple example, what I can tell you is when we talk about famous theme parks, within the theme parks, an accommodation unit located is normally called as a resort, not a hotel. Normally, it is how that is. And the next one is most of the resorts are theme based. And hotels, yes, of course, they do come with the themes, but not all the hotels are thematic. And the space, when we talk about the space between the rooms and then the guest who's accompanying along with us, the resorts have got more. So now in the COVID scenario, the spacing is very much important. In a hotel, the rooms can be in a very clustered manner where the spacing between one room and the other room will be very less. But in a resort, there will be very less number of unit and the guest will have their own privacy and it will be like more of an independent unit. You can feel it like a home within a resort. So something like that. So this kind of privacy as well as spacing is very much opted by the people nowadays, since people like they prefer to go out. So these kind of resorts are like kind of becoming very popular. And another thing which you can say is in a resort you can stay on a longer run, and normally hotels they offer the short stay but still they do offer long range of stay, but the resorts are normally on a longer duration. Just for a day, people don't go for a resort, especially because it involves so much of travel and all that. So that could be one of the difference. And another difference is location. A resort is normally located in a little outskirts of the city, not the one which is located within the city. It cannot be termed as a resort. So it is called as a hotel. So this will be like in a little outskirts or in a rural area or in a very kind of an atmosphere, thematic atmosphere created. That is all called as a resort. So I believe this has given a difference between a resort and a hotel. So now resorts, we know why we are talking about the resort. As people now they find it very hesitant, the COVID scenario, this can be even more in a wonderful suggestion to go for. And the next one is types of resort. What are the different types? There are two types of resorts. One is concept based and the other one is location based. So location based, I think it's very simple for us to go with that, where the resort is located. Based on that, the resorts are classified into beach resort, hill resort, ski resort, island, golf, spa, and then everything. So whichever the place it is located, based on that, this resort is termed. Wherein talking about the concept, so any particular resort which follows the concept in terms of their application, that is called as concept-oriented resort. In that you have all inclusive resorts and then eco-friendly resorts, wildlife resort, wellness resort, recreational, destination. So all these concepts, the themes based on this also the resorts are in very popular form. So now we'll be discussing about few of the concept-based resorts. So the first one would be like all-inclusive resort. And it can also be called as a family-based, since both of these overlap in the concept. So in the pictures, we can be able to understand like there are so many concepts, all inclusive, everything is included. It is something like in a family, there are like 5 or 7 members, going for a particular resort, this resort makes sure that each and every one in the family will be catered to. So a small kid, the kind of activities for them, and a youngster, the kind of activities like river rafting, scooter, water scooter, and all that. The people who are in little older stage, like spirituality, yoga, and all that. So entire family, for them, this resort focuses on providing activities. And the other name is nothing but all inclusive of different services in a single unit. So that is this. And the example I have given here is nothing but a heritage village resort located in Goa. This is like a simple example. So this kind of examples are just for an understanding of what is this concept all about. And the next one is eco-friendly resort. What is this eco-friendly? Eco means environment. So environmental friendly resorts. There are so many resorts which looks into the environment in and around India, and based on that, they design their own unit. So a simple example I have given here is Gujarat as well as in Assam. How they have designed their outlet. So in Rajasthan, what they have done is there is a resort called as Shami Sarhad Village Resort. This is in a village called Hodka village. So what happens is the local community people in that village, they have made sure that they have taken all the raw materials in the available area, and then they have built a tent, and you won't believe the entire walls of these are made out of mud. So this is located in Gujarat, completely eco-friendly. There is no plastic, there is no other artificial elements involved, completely built on the mud as well as the straws, the roofing, right? The roofing is also done based on the locally available materials. So that's how they done. And another thing is that in the village, there are people who are involved in leather work and embroidery. So what they do, all their works which they are doing, they'll be displaying it throughout the hotel units and the resort units, sorry. So what happens here, whenever the tourists are coming here, they happen to experience how the embroidery work is done, and they make purchases also. So in a way, this community also gets benefited, and the entire resort unit is eco-friendly. And another example is in Assam, Diplu River Lodge. So this is also in terms of construction, similar to the Gujarat one, where they have completely built of bamboo and wood. So, and what is the other unique specialty is that the water surfaces here is they are recycling it, and at the same time they're having their own organic farm. So they grow their own vegetables and rice and all that. So the guest is offered complete organic food. So this is another example of eco-friendly resort. And the next one is wildlife resort. So wildlife, I don't think I need to explain more, which is something located in a wildlife area or in a jungle. In a simpler term, we call it as a forest. So what happens here? People who are very adventurous, who want to have some kind of spirit in terms of the travel, they opt for this wildlife resort. But one difficulty which I would say about wildlife resort is it's not like eco-friendly or other resort. Getting permissions in terms of licensing and approvals, legal permits and all that, it is little complicated procedures. You will have to follow various procedures in case if you're going to go for a wildlife resort. So, but at the same time, the tourists are like more convinced with these kind of resorts. So the example I've given here is Amani Kas. This is a resort built on a Mughal style. And the uniqueness of this resort is the wall, normally we call it as wall, right? The four sides of the resort are covered with the cotton draping. So there is no wall, it is a tented accommodation. So in a way, this reflects that eco-friendly resort. But since it's located in a wildlife area, this is an example for wildlife resort. And staying here, you have the safaris, jungle safaris also undertaken in and around this resort. Next one is wellness resort. Wellness, all of us know how the physical and mental well-being. You have this called as Ayurveda and all that. So Kerala is the best example for wellness. So what do? They have so many resorts that offers the special Ayurvedic treatments and all that. Here I have given few examples such as how people go for the well-being of the, especially for the physical well-being. So what happens here? A normal resort, any other type of resort also adds this wellness as a component. And where in some cases, the entire resort is based on the wellness also. The simple example is Kumarakam Lake Resort. So this lake resort comes under the location perspective, the classification which we have discussed, right? Types of resort in that, based on the location, Kumarakam Lake Resort will come there. And in a concept-based one, in terms of wellness also, this comes. So a single resort can have a reflection of two different types also. Okay. And the next one is location based. So location based, I just told you about it. So just a few examples over here are for ski resort, hill resort, and beach resort. So this ski resort is something where we talk about skiing. In India, we have few places which is covered with snow. So the example given here is Gulmarg in Kashmir. And the highlights of this is the Asia's finest slopes in winter is here. And another thing is here you have the world's highest ski lift. The ski lift, which we say, right? Gondola, that takes people through the mountain. This is the Asia's finest one. Okay, so that is located in Kashmir. And the other one is hill resort. Hill resort is something which is very much located near a hill. So what is the example given here is Banasur Hill Resort, which is in Wayanad. So here you have water flowing through the resort, and the architecture here also they have this eco-friendly concept, the mud walls in a traditional manner. So here we have a combination here, location as well as concept based. And the next one is beach resort, in a very simpler term, located next to the beaches. And this picture we have Taj Fisherman's Cove located in Kowloon Beach. In beach resorts, the important factor that we come across is you can have dining as well as the private beach next to the sea area where people have the other common public will not be allowed. So in the private beach is completely for the residents of that particular resort. So you can have a clean and a peaceful environment in this kind of atmosphere. And the next one following with that is, this is an example which I would like to quote you on, the difference between a resort based on a particular organization and wherein there is also another concept where an entire area can also be called as a resort. So the previous ones, I was telling you about the different organizations. But this one, Val Thorens, is a place that is nothing but a town located in France. So what is special about this one? Why suddenly we are coming to France? Why not in India? Yes, in India we also have, in Tamil Nadu we have Kodaikanal as well as Ooty. That is also called as a hill resort. Here, the ski resort I'm giving as an example, where the entire town of Val Thorens, this is the picture is about Val Thorens. This is an entire town. This is called as a ski resort. So it's not one building or two buildings. And moreover, here there are people residing in this place. Even that is also constituent of ski resort. And the uniqueness about this is that there is only the limited capacity. It cannot accommodate more than 150 passengers. So that we call as a carrying capacity. A destination can carry only limited number of people. So 150 people can be accommodated here. And at the same time, here, this is a car-free zone. So the cars are not allowed. And so people can have a very environmental friendly atmosphere in this particular resort. That is Val Thorens, a town located in France. And the next one is planning. So until now we saw about what is a resort, the difference and all that, and the different types. Because when we want to plan a resort, when we want to plan and develop a resort, we should know the classification. Only then we'll be able to decide which type of resort we want to initiate, right? So now we could have understood about the clarity on the different types. So how do we plan now? First one, what is the first stage? Market and product assessment. Here, what is this market and product? When we talk about a resort, the particular unit where you're going to start, especially in which area. First one is objective. Why do you want to start a resort? The objective should be very clear. And the second one is type of resort. We have already seen the concept based and location based. What is the type of resort you want to plan? And then the size of the resort. That is very, very important. How many number of rooms you would like to have? If you want to have an independent entity, how many different units you want to have? So that has to be decided. And then the place, which place are we choosing? And then following with the planning, conceptual planning. Conceptual planning in the sense, whatever the idea we are having, it has to be framed and then it has to be analyzed and then you have to move on. And then feasibility, pre-feasibility analysis. Feasibility means what? Can it be done? Is it possible? So pre-feasibility, we are trying to analyze whether this concept can come into reality. That is called as pre-feasibility. And then the next one is determination of facility and land use requirements and infrastructure needs. So we have to decide whether how much of area we are going to cover. If you are going to have a kind of 10 acres of an area, are we going to cover for the entire 10 acres? How much space within that unit we are planning on? And what could be the infrastructure needed for that? So all these will come under market and product assessment. Then the second stage, regional and community relationship. So what happens? A resort cannot function independently. There are people around the resort. Community. Community is nothing but the host resident, the host population or the residents located around the resort. Unless and until the resort is a wildlife resort, almost all the other resorts have the reflection of the community around them. So what we have to do, the environmental and carrying capacity analysis. Just now we have seen, right, carrying capacity, a particular place in France which can accommodate only 150 people. So similarly, any place you want to start a resort, you should understand the carrying capacity so that we should not exploit the environment. When we start exploiting the environment, what happens? The entire resources will get depleted, and at one point of time, the tourism will also start deteriorating. Okay, so that has to be decided in the second stage. So the community should be equally benefit. That is the focus of the second point. And the third one, environmental and social impact analysis. So whatever the resort I'm going to start on, am I taking all the resources from the environment? We saw about eco-friendly resort. If I'm going to take all the bamboo or the wood available in the environment, what happens then? The environment also gets affected. So we have to understand and analyze the impact factor, impact analysis. Environmentally, are we supportive? And socially, what socially in the sense, social and cultural atmosphere, the people around, are they getting affected? Is it in a positive manner or in a negative manner? That is the next stage. And then the fourth stage is nothing but economic and financial feasibility analysis. What is economic and financial feasibility? When you are talking about economic, that is something on a larger perspective. It is like kind of talking about a nation or a region. So what could be the cost and benefit? In the sense, how much I'm investing, how much will be the return, how much will be the profitability. Whereas financial analysis is talking about in a narrowed perspective, a particular individual unit or particular organization. So we are talking about what could be the turnover. So that is the economic and financial feasibility, because unless and until we are able to forecast the future profit, we will not be able to make it a successful one. And the last one is implementation stage. So what we have to do is we have to prepare and construct the entire structure starting from the first one to the last stage. So if we can plan the entire process in this manner, then it would be very clear that the implementation or development of a resort can be more successful and the failures arising out of it can be reduced. And the next one is development. So now we have planned it. So now we have to develop it. How do we develop? After planning, we are starting developing. So in this process, we have to bring so many people under one umbrella. Who are all the investors? Who's investing money? So in a resort, it can be a single ownership or you can have multiple people also involved. So who are all the investors? Who are the owning the one? And who's going to develop it? Someone would have invested, someone else would have been developing. So developers. And then the one who's operating the unit. So everyone should be convinced. So make sure that the entire planning process should be convincing for all these stakeholders. That's very, very important. Okay. So in a development stage, what do we do? Conceptualization, planning, and initiation. So now already we have framed some ideas. So putting all that ideas, we are coming into the conceptual mode, and then we are going to initiate it. In the sense, we're going to start it. And the next one is feasibility. So the previous one, which I said, will actually overlap here. So, but here I'm going to give a kind of in-depth detailed information on. Okay, so first one is conceptualization, planning and initiation. So in this, what we do, whatever the ideas we have gathered, we'll have to highlight most important factors like design, image, and marketing. What kind of a resort we are designing, what is it you're trying to portray in the public, how you're going to market it. And then the lodging structure. Physical structure of the unit is also very important. Whatever the service we give, it can be quality service. Still, physical structure is very important, and recreational facilities. Obviously, as we have discussed, any resort cannot be successful without the recreational facilities. So that's equally important. And then design of the transportation system. Why we talk about transportation system? Most of the resorts, since we have said it will be in a little outskirts of any city or in a kind of rural atmosphere, transportation is very important. Bringing the guests and then taking them back to airport or to any railway station and all that. So transportation need to be perfect. And the access routes, when we talk about transportation, access route also come into the scenario. So it should be in a smoother pace. The guest should not feel very tired even before coming to the resort. Only in terms of this wildlife resort, we can say the roads can be very, the terrain can be very rough and all that. But otherwise, normally not all the guests prefer is rough terrain. So that's very important. And then the basic amenities like restaurants, snack bar and all that. And then the provision for future expansion. This is very important. Not all the outlets plan this. So when they construct a unit, there should always be a kind of a provision you should create for expanding it. If you're constructing everything in a closed atmosphere, what will happen? If you want to expand one unit in a little expanded mode, it will be difficult. A simple example is within a city, if any unit is constructed and they want to expand it, only with the height they can expand. Because next to that, there'll be so many other buildings also. So that's a reason whenever any building is constructed, always plan up for a future perspective. If I want to expand it in the future, I should have that provision. That's very important. Okay. Architectural people, they know this very well. But still, if we have to make a resort or design a resort, this concept can be even more implemented. Okay. And the next one is employee housing and related needs. So since resorts, as I have already said, I don't want to repeat it, they have to be accommodated in a resort in most cases. Commuting every day would be difficult for them. So we have to make some proper arrangements for accommodating them. And whatever their needs are, the employee should be happy working in our organization. Unless and until they are happy, they will not be able to promote our product, and that will not be a success for our organization. So make sure that all the needs of the employees are taken care of, and other supports facilities and systems, and the basic like waste removal, the sewage and disposal and all that, security and maintenance. So this will be more challenging for a resort than a hotel. And this is the first stage of conceptualization. And once we know this, okay, we are almost with the starting stage. Okay. And the next one is feasibility, that I have already told you, economic and financial feasibility. So why we have to do this is it should be made in such a way that you have to comply with the social, environmental, political, and legal constraints. Because sometimes we might have to go through so many processes. End of the process itself, we find it difficult. So feasibility is nothing but a possibility analysis. So what are the basic elements? First one is overview of the physical area. Physical area is what? That particular area's climatic conditions, and then the political stability, the travel trends in that area. All these factors have to be considered. Even the weather pattern. If any particular area has got weather pattern which is very much fluctuating, very uncertain, it would be suggested not to start a resort in there. So that's one thing. So physical area should be studied very properly. That's the first one. And second one is market analysis. Market analysis is who are your guests? Okay, the people who are coming and staying in our resort, what category, which segment they come under, and how many people can be coming and where will they be coming from, which area, in and around area, geographical areas. So we have to analyze all that. If the people are coming only from the neighborhood areas, the chances of developing will be very less. So how do we attract people from other areas also? So that is the market analysis. And then the physical characteristics of site. So there is an overlapping for the first and the third one. So physical characteristics in the sense, do I have any other backup plan other than this? Okay, I have this site right now. If this doesn't work out, do I have any other alternate site? So that is the physical character. You'll be studying that. Sometimes what will happen, we have plan A, plan B and all that. First site, this we'll see. If this site is not working, we'll go for the plan B. That is the point. And the next one is financial information. So financial information has to be really taken care that capital requirement, how much capital is needed, that is very important. And debt equity leverage and cash flow statements, balance sheets, income statement, all these we can take some financial assistance from people, we can work on it. So unless and until financially we are very clear, this concept cannot be implemented. And other additional information is import duties, whether we can import materials from the other places. Sometimes if we are in a very rural area, our resort, we need some materials and all which has to be imported from some other area. So what are all the restrictions? Is it possible? If you cannot get all the resources easily, then there is no point in going into the interior area and then starting a resort. So we have to legally analyze all these things. And then experts' opinion, which is very, very important. If I'm going to start a resort, it's not that I alone do it. Take some ideas from experts who have already come across these kind of concepts and all that. Then that gives even more clarity. And the next stage is commitment phase. Okay, now feasibility we have analyzed. And then the next one is commitment stage. Commitment stage is what? It involves a negotiation stage. So what is the negotiation happening here? The land and site acquisition. Acquisition in the sense taking over. Okay, now I'm almost done. Okay, financially also I'm fine. Okay, I'm going to acquire the site. So that's the first thing. And at the same time, you have to get the agreement properly done from. It's all like in a simpler manner, we can say all the documents. Okay, all the documents with related to resort development, all that will be coming in that stage. So the public governing bodies as well as the funding agencies, whichever has given you all that, we have to make sure that we have all the agreements ready in our hand. And at the same time, franchises. Are we taking some franchisee or are we going to start a new entity by our own? This has to be understood. And are we affiliated? Sometimes it can be like affiliated to another unit. So all these has to be studied properly. And at the same time, development rights also should be obtained. What will happen sometimes you construct a resort in a place where you don't have proper permission to establish that. There are news which we come across regularly, particularly in places, especially in terms of hill areas and all that. It might be later understood that you're not supposed to construct a site. So in that case, we have to get all the development rights also. And then project architect or engineer, that is very, very important, because what happens when a guest comes to the resort, the first appearance, the architecture, the ambience, the physical atmosphere, that creates the best first impression. Always the first impression counts, right? So that is the first impression. So and the next one is about development costs, schedules, and drawings. So all these have to be clearly refined. Previously, all these would have been in an idea or concept stage. It has to be clearly documented. Everything should be brought into the papers. And then financing, developing, and operating agreement. Or agreement from all these people also should be collected. Okay, so this will decide the ownership structure. So what will happen? You are making everything very transparent, and financing is also perfectly done. So almost we are at a kind of growing stage. And the next stage is about design, layout, and construction. So design layout, I have already told you, but not in a detailed manner. So here you can have two different classifications, like intense resort as well as less intense resort. What is this intense and less intense is? In terms of the area, in terms of accommodating more people. If the more the area is, the more people can be accommodated. If the area is very less people will be accommodated. So in that case, what are the good characteristics of an intense high activity resort? So it will be very close together. Activities and facilities will be very close. Atmospheres will be like very much in action and very much excitement, because people all will be very close. Any activity happens outside your room, you'll be able to witness it. And the units will be more in number, but the rooms will be very less. The space will be very less. A simple logic, how we have discussed about hotel and a resort, right? A similar manner. And what will happen? Some restaurants will have more turnover, especially in high activity resort. The turnover in restaurants will be more, whereas in less intense, in the sense like people will be scattered. So sometimes you won't get more turnover. But less intense type of resort is something where people will have a peaceful atmosphere. Okay, it's kind of very remote location, and very few units are located in the resort complexes, and the rooms will be very huge, and then activities will be more relaxing and all that. So now what will happen? There might be a overlap in terms of designing and layout. Sometimes we might think that we are planning a high intense resort, and we might end up with the characteristics of a less intense resort. So that's the reason these kind of differentiation will give a clarity on how to move on with that. Okay? In the less intense type of resort, you have even more is like self-containment with little need for outside services. COVID scenario, you can have these kind of resorts, less intense type of resorts, where people will be scattered, and then like, it will be like very peaceful, and you will be having like social distancing and all that. Everything will be very much in prominence. And the next one is management and operation, the final stage. So what is this elements involved in the final stage of resort development? So marketing and sales. So that's very important. Whatever we have planned, whatever the concepts we have come across, whatever the quality services we have planned, unless and until it is known to others, it cannot happen. So marketing and sales is very important, which is the final stage of any product to be successful. If I get to know about one particular resort, how they have portrayed themselves takes me there. Only then I get the curiosity to go and visit. So marketing and sales is very important. And then followed with the people who are employed there, the staffs, the employees, recruitment, training, and retention. This is very important. A resort cannot have a moving population in terms of human resources. Once a person is recruited, which the proper training should be given, that person should be convinced so that that person stays on the long run. So that is the most important element. And then provision of services based on the negotiated agreement. Sometimes what happens is what is promised may not be offered. So that should always be taken care that once we deviate, then the brand image which we have obtained will go wasted. And then the next one is control and reduction of operating costs and expenses. However we plan the feasibility statement for finance, the cost and the expenses sometimes may deviate. So what we have to do, we have to have a track on it. We have to have a track on how much costs and benefits we have incurred, where are the deviations, how to overcome the deviation. All these has to be planned. Okay. And similarly, what will happen? Profit will get generated, and then the facilities will be properly maintained, and the resort's image will be enhanced in a best manner. Okay. This is the final stage. And a strategic plan. What is this called? A strategic plan. So whatever I have decided about my resort, that comes in the first elements. Whereas strategic plan, we are comparing with all the other existing resorts, because without analyzing the competitor, we may not know where exactly we are. So competitor analysis will happen. So in that case, how many other resorts are doing the exact same concept that we are planning? So what is the trend they have adapted? All that has to be analyzed. And then we have to analyze the strength and weaknesses. What is the major strength of this particular unit in comparison to the competitors, right? That's very important. And then the strategies and programs to be built on the strengths, and then so that it can be reduced. So blindly, without analyzing the weaknesses, any organization cannot be successful. So we have to check the weaknesses, but don't try to portray that. When we are like doing a marketing process, we should not highlight that we have this weaknesses. So we have to just try to make sure that we analyze it and then overcome that. And then financial requirements should be estimated, and the revenues to be derived also should be properly estimated. So similarly, the same way, cost and benefit has to be assessed. And then the asset management here is nothing but the land. How do we manage this land? What will happen? Sometimes the land area of the particular place gets increased or gets reduced also. So you have to make sure that the entire area should be taken care. Sometimes even another topic which can be discussed here is if the resort is involving so many areas, like more than few acres, like 5 or 7 acres of land, and the unit which we have considered comes in less than 2 acres, and the remaining areas we have to take care. That should be managed properly. Otherwise, what will happen? Trespassers will be coming in, and then some access will be illegal access can be also be experienced. So we have to be very careful. The entire area should be managed properly. Entire area that comes within the resort premises, that should be taken care. And then capital improvements and revenue impact, that is also to be taken care. So whatever I have invested, is it working on, or is it progressive, or am I going in the loss? That should be properly analyzed, right? Suggest a timetable for achieving objectives. This is simply like timetable we have given it here, but normally like, are we going in the track? Whatever the objects we have framed, are we going exactly in the same way we have planned? So that we should make sure any other deviations are happening, bring it into the form. So this resort planning all and the processes, if we are able to incorporate exactly in the same manner, I'm sure that we can make this resort a successful one, taking the minute aspects of each and everything. So to conclude here, I would like to say that this is a systems approach. That means what? We are not talking about one particular dimension. We are coming across so many dimensions which can bring so much of benefit. So a systems approach is normally needed when we are planning and developing a resort. So people say that hospitality industry is facing a decline and all that, but sometimes it's like we have the fluctuations. The demand fluctuations can exist, but on a long run, that will be very successful, especially if all these planning initiatives are undertaken in a systematic manner. And what happens is the result of this, if you're able to do all these in a proper manner, it will result in the benefit for both the environment as well as the local communities, as well as the organization. So benefits is for 3 people. So it's not just the environment and local community. If I have established a resort, obviously I also get benefited, and the people around me also get benefited, and the environment also comes with a convincing situation. So herewith we end this module, and thank you for watching this video. I hope this is informative. Thank you all.